Welcome to the XL Pro podcast, where every career has a turning point, a decision, a failure, a breakthrough. The moments that don't just shape careers, they define them. Each week, we sit down with founders, executives, and professionals from all walks of life to uncover the real stories behind their journeys. If you're building something, leading a team, or navigating your own path, you're in the right place. I'm Hasib Jangda, and this is the XL Pro podcast. And before we dive in, make sure to subscribe, like, and follow the podcast so you don't miss the conversations that could change your next move. Let's get into it. Hi, Ramika. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. It's a pleasure having you on today's episode. We're very excited to actually have you on. You were a big part of our new corporate office, and I think you designed these lights in every little aspect of everything. Wanted today's episode to be a lot about you, your experiences in all the different awesome careers that you've already had the opportunity to jump into, and just go from there. So before we get started, would love for you to introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Ramika Qazi. I'm an interior designer, and I've been in the field probably since 2015.
Oh, wow.
So it started out as a side hustle. I just loved it when we first bought. Actually, I kind of started when we first bought our first home, which was in 2010. And it was just very casual. But then after about 5 years, 2015, we got our second home. In that second home, I had a lot of friends and family telling me, hey, you're really good at this. You should, do something with it. And so I started with my house, created a Instagram page, started posting my own home, and I got one client, and, that was just kind of a trial. And, she trusted me with her house. So, I did the best I could. And it was literally from there. It was like that one client led to many others, word of mouth.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was.
Led you to XL Pro.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm so happy to have the opportunity. This is one of my biggest projects. So, yeah.
What do you think of the project?
I loved it. I loved using a different side of my creativity with home. It's somewhere where you live, and I try to create a sense of how you should feel in your home. It's a different feeling, and a work environment is different, but you still want to make it comfortable and fun, and a place where you want to come and work. And so it was fun. It was really different, but I'm glad you guys trusted me with my first major commercial project.
We'll get into this first commercial project again in a little bit, but before we get started, always love to do a couple little icebreakers.
Okay.
So I guess the first fun icebreaker that we can, fun for me, not for no for the audience or the guests even, let's play 2 truths and a lie.
Ooh, okay, that's fun. Okay. So I've kissed a giraffe at an animal sanctuary. I can deadlift over 200 pounds.
Wow.
And one of my travels to South Africa, I was almost 10 feet close to a lion coming to our Jeep.
All of these sound fairly believable. The giraffe one, I know Najim really well. I can see the giraffe one happening at the Crazy Guys,
Oklahoma.
I forgot his name. Tiger King, or whatever his name. Yes. So I can see that one.
You guys were there the same day?
Yes, we actually
That's
were.
How you know.
Yes, we were.
Okay, yeah.
It was with the whole crew. Okay. Second one is deadlifting 200 pounds. I know you're all about the gym, and you can probably lift more than me at this point. So.
Oh my God, stop.
I know you can do a lot more push-ups than Yasser. That for sure. And the third one, South Africa. Y'all have traveled a lot of places, but I don't know if South Africa is on y'all's list. I'm going to go with that one.
As the lie?
That's a lie?
No, I'm asking.
Yeah,
you think it's a lie or a truth?
I'm thinking the lion 10 feet away is a lie.
Okay. You got it.
Yes. I'm 3 for 3, guys. We've done 3 of these now, and I've gotten all of them. Okay.
Yes.
I'm building a little streak here. No, but I know you're all about your fitness, so that's why I was like, I could definitely see that one happening.
Yeah, I was like, I travel. I like fitness. This might be a little tricky. So
it was. You made me think more than the last 2. I'll give you that.
Okay.
Second one that I have for you is, What is the next activity or anything that you want to cross off your bucket list?
Bucket list.
Going to South Africa with a bunch of lions, maybe?
Actually, that's the dream. That is on my bucket list. I want to do an African safari.
Nice.
Yeah.
So is that the next one you want to cross off, or what do you have before that?
That is, if Nejum allows for that one. I don't know how much
I don't think Nejum has much of a say.
Yeah, but it used to be skydiving, and then I kind of outgrew that and never did that. And now it's between an African safari and maybe paragliding in Switzerland.
Paragliding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So something adventurous for sure.
Sounds fun. Not my type of fun, but
not your type of fun. Yeah.
Thank you again for joining us today, Ramika. I know that one of the big themes for today's episode that I think is important for a lot of different audience members is career pivots and just changing from one career to another. And you've been blessed to be able to kind of do that maybe once or twice, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
would love to hear about your experiences in moving. So where did you start at? And when did you start your career and what were you doing?
Yeah, so started my career in IT. Honestly, it just fell into it. Okay. I don't even know if that was where I wanted to be.
Did you go to school for IT?
I went to a business.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I went to school for business. Everybody around me in technology, that's where that's where you make money. Like, I don't know, it just kind of was the thing. Like, my brother was doing it, Najum, everybody was kind of more on that side. So I started with in technology, and then it was HR. So I was supporting the HR technology systems. So it was like the recruiting application, the career sites, the vendor management of background investigations. So it was a lot of people systems.
Yeah.
Within the people systems, I was over projects, implementations, maintaining relationships with our vendors, and all the fun go lives.
Sounds like a lot of your high-level corporate America.
Yeah, absolutely.
How long did you do that?
So I actually, when I first started, I was doing, what do you call that training? When you start in a company? My gosh. No, onboarding. Well, yeah, I was part of the onboarding, and I did new hire orientation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was a very different thing. I never thought I would do that, but it was I was on the recruiting side, but they needed people to kind of fill in, certain days for new hire orientation. So I kind of took that on. And then as I was doing new hire orientation and kind of in the whole HR area, then it kind of led me to the technology side. So that was like my next, first I had this entry level job, and then my next step was HR tech.
Okay. And what were some of your biggest, I would say, challenges from transitioning from the more onboarding HR side to the technology side?
Actually, challenges, the hours I worked, I don't think there was really like, oh, you get to work 40 hours a week, because we're maintaining these applications that are so important to the whole, like all our users, which were the employees, and not only employees, career sites, so it was externals, and so if something broke at 2 a.m. after, we were doing a go live, I was on that call. Wow. So there was a lot of like late nights of testing and, those implementations, it was draining. So it was very different from, the onboarding side.
And how long did you end up working in the technology side of Blue Cross?
Probably 10 years. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so it wasn't just a quick little
No, it wasn't
Through.
quick. Yeah, we went through multiple different systems. So we had like PeopleSoft. I don't know if you guys know any of that, but then Workday was the next really big project. So
wow, I do not envy you one bit when it comes to working and implementing these systems.
I just kind of fell into this job.
It worked out, I would say. No, that's awesome. And what was one of the things you loved most about your 10 years in the IT side? It could be nothing.
Honestly, I did learn, and I kind of took this piece into my business that I have now, but just the project management.
Oh, yeah.
I deal with customers, and my customers were our users, but then vendors, I deal with vendors, tight deadlines. So all of those things kind of, translated into what I do now, but
No, that makes total sense. How project management really is so important to all different careers and irrespective of what your role is within an organization. And I'm pretty sure that really helped you quite a bit. I know just from the onset of working with you on this project, where you had really clear guidelines, dates, and just everything. If anything, we delayed you a little bit, but it's okay, it happens. Talk to the audience a little bit about what your transition or your career pivot looked like from the IT world to really running your own business. So what do you do now?
So now I'm an interior designer.
Full time?
Full time.
Okay, wow.
And when I first started, it was just a part-time thing. I took projects one at a time. I worked weekends and nights alongside the, corporate job that I had.
Oh, so you're doing both for a while?
I was doing both for a while, yeah. Wow. And then,
how long?
So about 6 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
About 6 years. And, one of the biggest things that made me just go full time was after I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
And so that was in 2017. And that's really that's when my business kind of took off. I had a few clients I was already working on when I was diagnosed and didn't know how I was going to handle that.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to let it go. I was like, I think this is me. I think I'm finally finding myself. And then cancer took about a year and a half. I was still working both jobs while I had the cancer. Yeah. And, once I was done, it was just, I kind of wanted to leave my job at that time, but, leaving your job and going into something, that's yours and you don't know if you're going to get more, you're going to have like stability, financial stability, or if people are going to hire me. At that time, one at a time was, it was working, but then this needed to be multiple at a time. Yeah. So I didn't know if that was ever going to be the case. Took me several years. So finished cancer, fighting it.
Props
and
to you, man.
Thank you. 2018, like towards the end of 2018. And, I kept thinking, but I couldn't ever find the right time. I was like, well, this project is starting. And then this project is starting. I don't know how I'm going to leave this project. And it was projects I wanted to be a part of. Like Workday was up and coming. I was part of the Workday project. I enjoyed that too. It's kind of weird that, I enjoyed that I have such a different thing that I enjoy now. But I think it was like after COVID, like 2021, finally, I was like, you know what? Life is short. That's the biggest thing I learned during breast cancer. Life is short. You don't know what tomorrow holds. And I'll never find the right time. There's always going to be something.
That's true.
Yeah. And so if I don't make this move now, I don't think I ever will. Yeah. And honestly, it was taking a toll on like my home life too. Like I was always working. I kept my mind like busy all the time. I was designing at night and I do design better at night. And I've kind of changed my schedule now, but it's like when the world is asleep and I can completely
That's me at like 5,
be
6
creative.
o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
So it was just knowing that, there is never a good time.
100%.
And you
just have to take that plunge.
You just have to take that plunge, or
You mentioned a few things in there that I would love for us to talk with the audience about a little bit. One is your battle with breast cancer. What was it like having to go to treatments, having to go to your full-time job, having to then flip it around and work on your side hustle at the time?
Yeah.
And how did you make time for any sort of a personal life?
Yeah, it was challenging. Honestly, it caught me off guard. I was only 32 and you know how we are when we're 32.
Yeah.
but it took a while to accept it. And it took me about a good 3 to 4 months to accept it. Like, this is actually happening. This is, but I felt like the more I kept my mind busy, the more I did, I was able to just get through the days. It was rough. It was like death daily, honestly. Like, so it did the chemo thing, the surgeries, radiation, the full, like, my type of breast cancer was, honestly, it was a rare kind. I had triple negative breast cancer. So it was very aggressive. And usually only 10% of women get that kind. So there's very little research. So they make you go through the whole thing. So, having a strong mind at the time was the most helpful thing. And I felt like staying creative and working and, just making sure I tried to continue life.
Keeping you busy.
I was keeping my mind busy, honestly. It was what got me through. And it was what made me feel most normal. At that time, I didn't know anybody that had breast cancer around me. I was like on social media, like Googling, or searching people that I could connect with to see like how it's going to be, what I can do, what I can't do. And there were a lot of down days. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't an easy road, but it honestly changed me for the better. Good. I have a whole new perspective on life. That's why I'm doing what I do. I do what I love. And I know not everybody gets the opportunity to do something that they love, but I had, I have a husband that had a stable job. He was the biggest push in all of this. He was like, do this. This is what you love. Like, why are you doing this technology job? You don't even want to grow in the company, which I didn't. I didn't want like a management position. I was just doing it because I was comfortable. And that's what happens. Sometimes we're just stuck in our comfort and we don't take risks because we're comfortable.
That actually brings up a really good point. You mentioned your husband, Najam. I know Najam, growing up with Najam, amazing guy. How important is it to have that support system from your significant other, from other family members, to help kind of get things back to normal or have a semblance of normalcy during such a traumatic time?
Yeah, honestly, he was the biggest part of my fight. I don't think I could have fought this without him. And I tell him that all the time. He stayed strong for me. I was in disbelief that this was actually happening. I don't even think I wanted to fight in the beginning. I wasn't the strong person that I am now. I think he has shaped me into the person I am. He kept my thoughts positive. I don't even truly know how he felt, during that time. He hid a lot of that from me, and we talked about it after the fact, but he did go through a lot himself, but he was the biggest support. And having that support is very important. Honestly, it was one of the questions in my doctor appointments. How is the marriage going? There's a lot of spouses that leave their significant other during this time because it's hard on them. And I was like, why do they ask me this? Like, this is not relevant to my treatment.
It's not about me.
What is
this?
100%. But it is. It's the fight. 100%. They have to help you fight.
So going back to your transition from working multiple jobs to really making the decision after talking to Najam about this is who I am, this is what I want to do. What were some of the biggest challenges that you came across when finalizing that and really just quitting your day job?
Honestly, managing my time. It was so different. I had to create a schedule for myself. I was like, but it allowed for a lot of me time. I never had time for myself before doing all the things. I loved fitness. So one of the things I always struggled with was, finding time to do that. And then now, I've made it a part of my routine. I go in the morning, I take care of that. And then I start my job, after 11.
Nice.
You can make your schedule, right?
There you go.
I can work nights and weekends if I want. It's by choice. Now I don't have to. But, that time management was probably the biggest challenge initially. Now I love it. Now just
Yeah.
I have more flexibility.
That makes a lot of sense. Obviously, that flexibility is such an amazing aspect of working for yourself. And I used to think that I had that flexibility as myself as a business owner, but we really don't, especially as we continue to grow and as we continue to scale. My experiences, anyways. So when you were working at Blue Cross, you obviously didn't have the flexibility, but you were working with a large team. And now, even with having the flexibility and so on and so forth, you're really a one-man team, right? What are some of the advantages and disadvantages to having first that team atmosphere where you're working with a large group of people to then, even though, you're your own boss, you have all the flexibility in the world, being really that sole person that's responsible for making sure that the
Everything
work is done.
running. Yeah. So it's challenging, and I'm learning every day. I have definitely changed my process multiple times, but the biggest challenge, I would say, now, I thought I had the flexibility.
Yeah.
To think about it, I really don't. Like, I have a lot of spare moments where I have free time, but I really do make it a point. Like, this morning is mine. I'm going to get this done. And then the rest of the day, I try to figure it out. Having a team is challenging, and not having a team is challenging. I don't have a team yet because I feel like I don't even know if I have time to manage them. I'm going to have to oversee that work. And a lot of the creative side, I love doing that.
Yeah.
I love doing that myself. I feel like I am the brand, and then hiring somebody else, which would help me, but then they wouldn't have the same eye. And that's the thing in this business. It's a lot about the eye. And then teaching someone design isn't, I feel like you can't teach someone to pick up your style. And especially when you're a creative, then you kind of overstep on each other. They might have their own thoughts. And so it has been a challenge to run this business by myself. But I could, and I have started to use more admin help. There's a lot of just managing procurement and emails and client calls
operation side,
all the operation side. I do a lot of that, but I'm, now I've outsourced some of that work.
Smart. Very good idea. And you brought up having kind of, I guess, that eye and just having that artistic kind of mindset, right? And I honestly, I don't know much about it, but if I had to guess, I would guess it's like everyone else has their own personality, and no two personalities are really truly the same. I'm sure you have clients that shop around before they settle with you. What do you think sets you apart? Is it your creative vision? Is it your processes? Is it anything else where you think as though, because mashallah, I see that you have a lot of really good clients, you stay busy. I have a couple of friends of mine that have been trying to book you for 3 months now, and that's a positive, right? And that's a blessing. But what do you think sets you and your company apart in the interior design world from your competitors?
It's not just about gaining that client. Honestly, for me, that client would choose me because they're important to me. I want to know about what they want out of me, and I really try to accommodate that. I don't try to push a style on them. I want to learn about them, what makes them comfortable. So if it's a house, your house is a sense of feeling. It's not just how it visually looks, but it should create a feeling. So I try to understand, what do they really want? How do they use a space? Do they have kids? Do they have pets? How do they want to feel when they're in their room versus their living room? Design is not just the visual, like I was saying. It's for me, particularly, it's that sense of the feeling. And I really learned that when I was immunocompromised with my cancer. And at that moment, I was like, design isn't just about making things look pretty. They could be that same, room could feel different to me in my house. So I try to keep every design different. I don't ever replicate. So even if a client comes to me, they're like, we want this coffee table. A lot of them will come back to you to tell her. She won't tell us because I don't replicate the design.
Wow.
I will get you something similar, but that design is special to you.
Interesting.
So, just going on AI now, we have these tools, but I don't like using that just yet. I don't know where all of this is going to go, but I really like understanding, what do you want to feel? How do you want to use the space? And that just going back to my time when I was at home, I was immunocompromised. I wanted my room to feel a certain way.
Gotcha.
And there was a moment where I was in the hospital for a few weeks, and in that time I was like, I just want to be in my house. That's where I feel comfortable. I need my house to be clean. I need it to look like this because that's how it makes me feel. And so it's a lot about the feeling.
You mentioned design and how you really have to cater to a specific design for each one of your clients. For those looking to get into the interior design space or industry, is there any classes that you took that you would recommend? Are there books that really helped you kind of learn it? Or was it just a lot of you going out there and fake it till you make it?
Yeah, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I did that.
Yeah.
I don't have any design background. This first started, I don't think I mentioned this, but in the 2010 era, this started with like staging. So staging to sell is where this started, this whole business idea. I decorated our first house in like 2 weeks. And, I just, everybody that came over was like, well, this looks so professional. You should like do this for a living. I didn't really know what I should do with it because I didn't have that design background. I wish I went to school for it. But at that time, I didn't even know that that was a career I could choose, and being Pakistani, our parents, they're like, what, you're an IT, you're an engineer, doctor, lawyer, and so I didn't even think that was a career I could choose. So I started with that. And then honestly, I just, after falling in love with design and just wanting to, make it a career, it was fake it till you make it. I couldn't even believe I got my first client. And then the next client after that, I think I got some of her stuff from Z Gallery. So they featured me. And once
I do remember that.
Yeah, you remember that.
Yeah.
So when they featured me, I got like a lot of followers, and this was on social media. So after I gained those followers, people started asking. They're like, what if we want your services? And I was like, what, they want to hire me? And I remember I used to do the happy dance in the beginning. I was like, I can't believe people are trusting me. And I was very straightforward with telling them that I don't have a design background. I do this because I love it, and I just
and you're really good at it, so that
it
helps,
just turned
right?
into this, And so, but obviously, I keep up with trends, and
100%.
I do my research in that, and
I mean, once you obviously make it into an industry and you really get your feet wet and cemented more or less at that point, it makes total sense where you got to keep up with industry.
Yeah.
I had a similar, but not even near similar trajectory as well, where I was just another lawyer in Texas, and I had the opportunity to come into the staffing world, and I had to fake it till I make it too, man, for a while. And then as I got my feet wet, as I really learned and really got the foundation strong, right?
Yeah.
I learned that a lot of what I had to learn was so industry specific that I'm just going to go to a bunch of trade shows and I'm going to do very industry specific research and learn it on my own.
Yeah.
And I was blessed enough to do that. And now look at us.
I know.
Man.
Look at that. Sometimes you just learn things on your own, and in an organic way. And honestly, sometimes I have clients like throwing rules at me, like, hey, the rug should be this big and the coffee table should be this scale, because they're searching online.
Or I want a starlight in my ceiling.
Yeah. Right. I'm like, but
that was me.
Don't you think it should be this big? But it's really about your space.
Yeah.
You have to scale it to your space. You don't just search online and you can't get everything online. And so it's sometimes like also having that eye. And I didn't know I had that eye until I started it. And it was just the positive feedback I got, was really helpful.
Good.
Yeah.
And I know you are struggling a little bit right now because of me in our office.
No, I love this project.
Yeah. I'm sure as you came into the commercial world a little bit more, maybe even in like when it comes to homes, husband and wives definitely may have two different ideas, perspectives. How do you take the challenge of really getting everybody's vision met or meeting everyone's vision
Yeah.
and still not compromising on the quality?
I have had a lot of, couples want separate things. And I try to combine the two, and I don't shut one idea out completely. I show them, if we go this way, it'll look like this. So it's a little bit of convincing them, convincing both. Like, but I try to do a hybrid situation of,
Yeah.
well, this person likes this, and then the wife likes this. Well, what if we did this, and it would be a good blend of both?
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure we gave you a good headache. Well, just with our 3 offices
no,
from
I
our
loved
partners,
it.
it was so fun.
It was fun. It was
Yeah.
fun.
Obviously, dealing with so many different personalities, and everyone has an opinion when it comes to their home, their office, and everything else in between. What's the most awkward situation that you've ever come across at RQ Charming Homes? Have you seen like a straight up fight, I guess, or argument?
No, I've seen things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I envied, like, when a husband and wife like wanted to do the house together, because Najim was very hands off, and I was like, dude, like, you don't really care about our house. And like, he's like, if I had things to say, then that would you're so good at it. Like,
Yeah.
why would I say anything? That would just cause like conflict.
True.
And so after I really got into this, and I had situations where a husband and wife were having conflicts, I was like, okay, I don't envy this anymore.
Yeah.
There should be one decision maker. And, but it was.
What's the saying? Happy wife, happy life. There you
Exactly.
go,
Yeah. But there was one where I got a text message after the fact, and, it wasn't a husband, but it was a boyfriend that reached out to me saying, I want to do my place. When I got to his place, there was a female there. I guess this was his girlfriend, and she was part of the design consultation. But after the fact, he was like, well, I really want you to make your decisions. She's technically not really even living here. And that was like awkward. So, but I was like, okay, I thought she was a decision maker.
Yeah.
That's good to know. He's like, she may say some things, but like, let's kind of do what you're thinking. And so I was like, okay, this is getting awkward.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. But like, we're in the project 6 months later. I think their situation progressed because she was very involved by that time. So
good for them. Like, I'm glad it worked out. Yeah.
I know, I'm glad that worked out.
So have you had to learn a lot of different, I guess, styles of design in order to really be successful in what you do? Or do you have a particular style that you think is best when it comes to remodeling, designing, and all the above?
So there are a lot of various styles, in the design industry. There are some that trend more often. There's some that are just kind of consistent. But going back to what I mentioned earlier, my style is learning what my client wants. I want to know how how a space makes them feel, how lighting makes them feel. And I determine the style based on that. And so then I tell them, hey, maybe we should do modern organic, or we should do transitional, just depending on their lifestyle. So I don't push a style on anyone. I kind of learn what and how they live before I can determine their style. And so
you can definitely put pandas and Pokemon and my Legos and all the sports memorabilia in my office. You're just choosing not to, I
I'm
guess.
choosing not
Okay.
to. I'm like,
Fair
am I
Fair
making
enough.
a kid's office, or
Okay.
am I making...
All right. No, I see what's up. It's all good. Do you feel as though your personal life and your battle with cancer and just your hobbies really have shaped who you are as an interior designer? Or do you really just think it has been the experience in years that you've been doing it?
That's a really good question. I think I am who I am today as an interior designer because of that fight. It made me stronger. in the best of ways. I don't regret it. It sounds very, you know, it sounds interesting. You never really hear people saying that. I didn't hear many people saying that, but I don't think I would have first been a designer, full-time designer, if I didn't go through that. But that mindset of just being strong came from that, because that was where I was the weakest in my life. I never felt that weak where I needed help from someone. I hated that feeling. I hated that feeling that I couldn't move. And that is what pushed me to, that word strong came from the weakness. And so why I work out and why I do that, I love feeling strong. And that later just became a big part of me. I think strength really defines me, and it's not about what anybody thinks. I don't care what family thinks. It's how I feel. I didn't like how I felt. Everything was, you know, kind of taken away from me. Just all of a sudden, I was like, oh my God, now I'm gonna lose my. I felt like I was losing my identity, the way I was looking, the way I had a good several years, and I don't think I ever really mentioned this before, but I had a hard time remembering things. I had brain fog, and brain fog was it. You know, it was hard. I never really had to take notes at work, and then like after I battled breast cancer, during that, the chemo, like I don't know, it did a number on on that, and it took many years to recover from that, and I just felt like so many parts of me were taken away just in an instant. And I wasn't prepared for it. You know, none of us are.
Yeah.
And when these things just hit you, you have to find what can keep you moving forward.
Yeah.
And just feeling that strength is what kept me going.
And obviously you had to restart in that aspect of your health, and you restarted your career, and you restarted just about everything. And you mentioned the word strong and strength a lot. I'm sure you had a very different definition of what strong meant then. What is your definition of strength now?
For me, it felt like you just need to keep pushing through things. You know, you're strong if you can keep going. You keep going. And later, after my battle, strength just completely, the perspective changed. It was like strong now is choosing myself. And not just pushing through things. Yeah. Not just pushing through things because makes someone happy. And, you know, I was a people pleaser. And you can ask Najim now, I'm not, you know, and it was a lot of growth just because, you know, as you just in our community, you're just like we're kind of grown and raised this way where we're just people pleasing, and we just, okay, you're strong if you could just forget about things that are happening. But if you just keep pushing, you're strong, you know. But I was like, no, strength means fighting cancer. Not everybody can, you know. And I didn't want to, but I did it, and then I was like, you know, this is what defines me. I don't want to be defined by the cancer I went through. I now want to be defined by just being a strong person, of being strong and just choosing myself and taking risks.
What advice would you give anyone listening or watching today that's really wanting to take that next step but is afraid? What advice would Ramika in 2026 get that has lived so many different lives at this point? What would you tell them to help push them along?
You know, take the risk. There's never a good time. There will never be a good time. I know, because year on year, I was like, yeah, I'm going to start my business. And then 5 years passed. And because I didn't take that risk, I lost 5 years in something I could have built then.
Yeah.
And if we don't take that risk, we don't know. And, you know, just having the courage of just knowing that maybe you could change the trajectory of your life, you know, and if you take that risk.
Obviously, there are fears for people, and it's easier said than done to just trust yourself and take that risk. What were some of the real-time fears that you had when you were moving away from I'm not going to say like your cushiony 9 to 5, but
Yeah.
more or less, yeah, your stable corporate America job and starting your own business.
Honestly, I mentioned how I didn't have that background in design.
Mm-hmm.
Here I am just thinking I'm going to fake it till I make it.
And you did.
And
You did. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, are people going to hire me? Am I good enough? Like a lot of these questions came to my mind. Is this going to work out? What if it doesn't? If I try this out for a year, am I going to be able to go back to the corporate world? Technology changes so much now. Like, I don't even know if I could go back. They're all using AI for everything. So my whole job was probably going to be gone anyways. But
Thanks, AI.
I know, thanks AI. But it was just not really knowing, not just the financial aspect, but not knowing if, how hard am I going to take this on myself if people don't want to use my services?
Yeah. So what would you say to someone listening right now that feels stuck in their everyday job and is really looking to make a career move, whether it be for themselves or any other industry or a new industry?
Stuck isn't permanent.
True.
We choose that. So if we choose not to make the move, then we stay stuck. So taking that risk, I think, is the way to go. Sometimes we just have to take that risk.
Yeah.
And we never know. Like, I would have never known that I could have actually been where I am,
Dive
and
off the deep end.
I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be doing something that I love. And a lot of us don't take that risk because we think this is our life. We're stuck. We just have to do this. We have to, and I did have that stability at home financially to make that move. And I know some people don't have that chance. So, it was,
it's a blessing.
It's a blessing, that I did do it. And I had somebody that believed in me at home, no, you got this, you can do this. And
obviously we've seen you grow up in your industry and in this industry. And it's really remarkable to see how you have been able to scale your business and operations and really just churn out so many amazing projects. If for any of our amazing audience members listening or watching, how can they get a hold of you and how can they potentially hire you or work with you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and TikTok. I don't post as much on TikTok, but they can reach out to me via my website. You just fill out a form, or you can reach out, DM me on Instagram. It's Arky Charming Homes. I do think of rebranding because I'm not just doing homes anymore and it's commercial, but right now it's Arky Charming Homes.
Yeah. Love that. No, thank you again so much, Ramika, for joining us today. It was such an honor to have you on the XL Pro podcast, and we can't wait to see what you do with my room moving forward. Yay!
Yay. No, thank you so much for having me today. It was a blast. I loved working with you guys. This project was really special to me. And awesome. I wish you guys the best of luck too.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
God, we did it!
Yeah.